Welcome back to Blake's Craft Beer Podcast. My name is Blake Montel. I have four awesome guys tonight. You might have heard them a few times on the podcast. The last time we did this we did on a very snowy day back in, I believe, January, because we were all supposed to be hanging out at the OCBA, but Mother Nature had different plans, so we just hung out. Please introduce yourself and your websites or whatever you do for craft beer.
I think John's saying he can't go first because his mouth is full. I'll go first. I'm the Gnarly Gnome. My website, I heard today that you're not supposed to say www anymore when you say website, so I'm going to say it just out of some kind of protest. It's www.thegnarlygnome.com. Right about Cincinnati drinks in general. All kinds of drinks, all from Cincinnati. And then every once in a while I venture outside of that bubble.
Okay, now I can go. My mouth isn't full. But I have saliva, and we'll probably get to that at some point. My name is John Seacott. I'm the executive editor of Brewer, which is a national publication for the craft beer industry, but more locally for the Ohio area. I am the administrator and founder of the Northwest Ohio Craft Beer News. That one doesn't have a www. The other one, you can just type in brewermag.com, or you can go www.thebrewermagazine.com, because apparently we needed www back then. And I'll be eating a lot of Sour Patch Kids and drinking NA beer tonight, so I'll explain that later.
Rob Fiddle, Northeast Ohio Craft Brewery Beverage News, the other side of the northern part of the state, from John. Facebook, Instagram. I do have a www. I don't even know what it is, though. I think it's NEO Craft Beverage News or Brewery News or something. It hasn't been updated in over a year, so don't worry about it. It's fine. I'll get around to updating it eventually. But yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and occasionally TikTok.
And I am Kilted Beer Reviews. I don't have a www at all, so I avoid any of that. I am primarily on the gram, as the kids all say. Kilted_beer_reviews, also on Twitter and Facebook under that same nom de plume. I am based out of Columbus, Ohio, and do, as my name says, I wear kilts and I go around and I drink and review beer. Focus a lot primarily on stuff in Ohio, Columbus. Last weekend, as the Gnome well knows, I was in Cincinnati. But as I travel around for work and whatnot, vacations, I will look at breweries and whatnot to visit there, to go in and taste and review the beers and the breweries and all the good stuff like that.
I have a question about that. When you travel, do you bring multiple kilts, or do you just like choose one and like, all right, everything's got to match this one?
I have 44 kilts, so I bring one for every day.
Perfect.
I have more kilts than I have pants and shorts combined.
I respect that.
So it's like changing your underwear, literally. You can do it every day.
Exactly. and as you should in both situations.
So And you know who I am. I don't have WW either, and I'm from Dayton. So tonight's gonna be a fun night, and I love it because we're all in different parts of different regions. So
we do a good job covering Ohio.
Yeah.
Dayton is the biggest suburb of Cincinnati, so it's kind of in the same little bubble as I am.
Sure.
I love you, Dayton.
I'm just waiting for you to become cover the entire southeast as well. Like work your way across from Cincinnati.
It's hard enough.
Athens.
So I am a firm believer that if I'm going to write about a brewery, I need to be able to get there at least once every year.
Yeah.
And I'm having a hard enough time keeping up with Cincinnati. I don't think I could add any more to it. I talking about Dayton. That's been something that's been on my radar for a very long time. I want to add Dayton into what I do, but I just can't. It's too many places.
I hear you. 10 years. I'm coming up on 10-year anniversary in January, and in 10 years, there's still places in Northeast Ohio that have yet to set foot in. It's just it's too tough. I don't know how these people that do the Ohio on Tap app, and they've hit 400 check-ins, and they're starting it over and doing it again. Like they must have no full-time jobs, no kids,
no children,
no other responsibilities. If they can just
especially when you have to wait 30 minutes between each check-in on the thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know how those folks do it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I can travel-wise. I would say the farthest for what I consider Northwest Ohio, which would be like practically getting into Dayton, like Moeller Brew Barn is probably one of the farthest for me. And that's, I've done it. It's not a fun, it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. So like you're going there for a couple beers. You can make a day out of it and work your way back, but there's not it's a very complicated, not a lot of places along the way unless you're just hitting 75. But I got to say, actually, no, I guess Van Wert would now be the farthest that I have had to drive. Lincoln Brewing Company in Van Wert just opened. So yeah, it's a hike, but I'm willing. I'd like to get out there at least, like you said, Gnome, at least once a year, just to be able to show your face and make sure you're tasting some beers and enjoying, what they got going on there.
We really need to find another blogger that's out there that can start writing about Southeast Ohio. I mean, that's what we need. Somebody jump on this.
I mean, someone should be from Athens, right? I would assume, right? Somewhere.
You would think so, and or maybe even somebody that's Columbus or somewhere kind of further over that way. Maybe there's somebody that could venture down there enough to make it make sense.
So, you were talking about Moeller, John. I mean, in that area, because they used to have quite a few breweries up there, but they kind of I know a couple of them fell off and decided to,
Yeah, Tailspin, Gungoozlers, which I've never been able to. I thought they closed, and then I heard they were still doing Friday night growlers. And I don't know if they were just serving off the old beer, and just opening up the place for like a night, which is what I'm guessing. But now it doesn't seem like they're at all. But we've had a few others pop in and out. Ottawa is now open, so you can kind of connect, especially like where 1820 is in Ottawa. On your way to Lima, there's kind of a little corridor. Now again, they're all 30 to 45 minutes apart from each other, so you have to have some time commitment to do that. But we love the beer, we love the people, so we do it for that.
I think where you are in the northwest part of the state, you probably have the most spread out distance between breweries for sure. I mean, because that's just pure farm country out there.
Oh yeah. And then you got Toledo, which I try not to.
Yeah, I think kind of tucked where I am in the southeast corner of the northeast quadrant of the state. I'm at the furthest place I think I am is probably an hour and a half from anywhere in the coverage area that I have. I think Woolly Pig down in Fresno is a little bit of a hike for me, and then going up toward Sandusky, like Clag, but we kind of both stake claim to Sandusky, Erie County. John, fight over it on any given day which one of us covers that county, but hour and a half is about the longest drive I would have to any one corner of Northeast Ohio, whereas you've got 2.5 hours for your furthest one out.
Yeah No, I just watched your chicken wing video from about last summer.
Yeah.
And Alexandria, that's in Kentucky, correct? Like I looked on a map. I know they just opened up a location, but so how far do you consider what's considered greater Cincinnati? I guess I never know what I know that Dayton is kind of the start of it, but where does it kind of end?
So my rule is 45-ish minutes from Fountain Square. And I leave the ish in there to give me a little wiggle room. It's the big thing for me was like, if there's a brewery that's opening up and they're not closer to another major kind of brewery pocket, a city, somebody else that can claim them. So Dayton is the easiest one to use as the example. If there's a place that is closer to Dayton, I will let it kind of slide to Dayton. And when you start talking about Kentucky, there's not a lot of places down there. So as you start kind of going, Alexandria is the furthest south until you get to Country Boy in Georgetown.
Yeah.
And clearly Country Boy is not a Cincinnati brewery. They're a Lexington brewery. So that distinction was really easy, or is really easy right now. It's 45-ish minutes.
What about like Fabled Brew Works? They're getting a lot of press right now. Do you kind of consider that Cincinnati still? Metro?
That's definitely Cincinnati.
That's right outside the airport, right? In Erlanger?
Yeah, they're.
Oh, are they?
I'm trying to think of.
I think so.
They might even be inside the loop.
Okay,
maybe
they're close to it.
Yeah,
I was talking to
right
somebody about it the other day, and it was like right just east of the airport.
Even Alexandria, when you look at it on the map, it seems, and especially when you drive there, it feels like you're going in the middle of nowhere. But it's like 15 miles, I think, from downtown. Like it's not that far. So like they're definitely in that bubble for me. The hard one, you got Sons of Toil out east, out in Mount Orab. That's a haul to get out there, and it's hard to argue when you're there that you're in Cincinnati anymore. But there's nowhere else close by to them, so we pull them in to let them be part of Cincinnati.
That's a good way to think of it, I guess. And I think of it like, and this is outside of just what our coverage area would be, but what do you consider an hour's number of driving that you would go to just go drink a beer and go home that day? Like how far would you drive hours wise?
That's a good question. I mean, I would probably, I'm probably a bad example of a person to do this because this is like that's kind of what we do. But I would drive a couple hours to go. I'm not having one beer. I'm probably having two. But, and I'm probably grabbing some food at some kind of fun place or something while I'm out there. But yeah, I'll drive a couple hours. I mean, I've definitely driven out to Athens, but I don't think I've ever just driven out there for the day. I think I always have stayed out there. It's hard to go to Athens and then come back home. I don't know how you get back in the car and drive.
Right. Yeah. For me, it's about an hour and a half. I think it's my coverage ring. Anything beyond that, I'm camping out. I'm staying the night. So if I'm going down kind of toward the Columbus area, I think Phoenix Brewing in Mansfield, or Uniontown in Ashland is probably about the furthest I would go and make a return trip home that same day. Anything beyond that, now you're starting to get into kind of like Cliff Hearted, Marengo, then you're getting down to Delaware, and then you're all of a sudden in Columbus proper and Keith's neck of the woods. And I've got friends down there. If I'm going down there to get beer, I'm probably crashing at one of their places for the night. And same way going down out the 77 corridor, going toward West Virginia, Woolly Pig's probably my limit. Anything like that, I'm getting out toward the Athens area, and I'm camping out for the night. I'm staying in Hocking Hills or something like that for the weekend.
I assume Hightower is outside that window for you.
Hightower is a straight shot, I think, down 11 towards Steubenville. That's borderline. I've never been there. I've always wanted to go there. I've heard good things about them. But yeah, I'd probably put them about in the hour and a half range for me.
The only reason I ask is I used to work for a company that had its headquarters in Pittsburgh, and so once a month I was driving that I-70 I-70 out and back through Pittsburgh, and that would enable me to stop at the Buckeye Lakes and the Hightowers and the Woolly Pigs. And if I were a little creative with my route, I would hit like Birdsong and some of those others. So I was just curious if that fit in your window or not.
I mean, where I am in Southeast Portage County, I'm equidistant between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. So when I used to travel for my full-time job, depending on where I was traveling for work, it was a flip of the coin whether I was going to fly out of Cleveland or Pittsburgh. So like for me, a day trip to go down to downtown Pittsburgh and drink some beers would not be out of the question, and that would be closer. It'd be closer for me to go to Pittsburgh than it would be go to Hocking Hills, to go to Athens.
Wow. How about you, Keith? You're kind of in that sweet spot. You could go to Cleveland, Cincinnati, Toledo, Dayton, like all, and make it home in a time.
Yeah. So as I was talking to Blake, and Gnome knows about this, every year, buddies of mine and I do a Cincinnati brewery hop where we go down on a Saturday. Because we do so many, we don't drive home. We end up staying down there. But we did this past Saturday, we went down and did 9 breweries between Hamilton and downtown Cincinnati, and then crashed out. If it were a drive down, I could go to Cincinnati and visit Third Eye or Sonder or March 1st or, Fretboard or any of the various breweries kind of in and around where I would go down there to visit my family, and then still come back in the same day. So that's easy. Cleveland, it's probably more Canton, Akron than all the way up into the Cleveland stuff as far as going up and then coming back and getting back. Yeah. Athens is a bit of a stretch just because of the drive itself to get out there. Yeah. It's a lot of remote driving.
Yep.
And I don't want to go out and have a couple of beers and drive back with that.
And drive on Southeast Ohio roads for sure.
Go down 33 to get out there. I mean, there's Rock Mill on the way. You could go down and hit, there's a couple other ones out that way and make your way back up. But the distance between destinations is very long going down that way. So that's always a unique trip if and when it happens.
Yeah.
Well, so
I tried. What was that? Oh,
I was going to say. You.
There you go.
Damn it. I was going to say about 3 hours is my max, and probably a little less than that because I have gone to South Bend, Indiana from Toledo, because it's all turnpike. It's pretty easy to jump on, jump off, and go to Evil Check is there, and then I've done a Grand Rapids and back, just to go to Brewery Vivant's twin sister brewery, and Broadleaf Spirits or Brewing Spirits or whatever it's called. But Jason Spalding, who was one of the original founders of New Holland, he took the money from the split and opened up Brewery Vivant. And then since Brewery Vivant was so avant-garde type of farmhouse, they kind of created the New England IPA version of it, but called it something different because it just didn't seem like it would fit in that brand. So I have driven to Grand Rapids and back, had a few beers, and that was it. So 2.5, but that's only 2.5 hours for me. It seems like when you think of it, like, oh, you're going to Grand Rapids, so that you could drink there all day. Yes, you could, but I just had to do it and come home. So I guess 2.5, 3 hours.
I think that's the whole thing for me, is like, if I think of a spot that I'm going to go to like that, I'm like, yeah, I could do that in one day. And then I start looking, I'm like, okay, well, 20 minutes from that spot that I'm going to go to is this spot that I also want to go to. And, 10 minutes from that is this spot. I'm just going to stay there. I'm just going to make a day out of it and then stay the night. Like you start to build this whole trip out of it. And it's like that kind of almost wherever you go. It feels like to me, I recognize there are lots of pockets that are kind of isolated, but it feels like any place that I'm traveling to go get a beer, there's a bunch of places that I want to grab a beer.
Mm. How about you, Blake? How far would you drive for a beer?
Well, where I'm at in Troy, I'm pretty lucky because Cincinnati, Columbus are both about an hour-ish. I think, and I've done my dad and I normally do it together. So the furthest we've gone and came back is probably Toledo, and come back. But yeah. So, but it's more fun I think it's more fun when you stay in a place, though, because you get to truly explore it and you're not in a time crunch. Hey, I have to get back. Because sometimes when you do those type of trips, it is sometimes a long ride back home.
We had a blast in April coming down with Gnome, and we kind of did it over 2.5 days. And I wouldn't want to have done Cincinnati any other way. 4-hour drive. There's no way I'm going to go down, hit 1 or 2 breweries, and then drive 4 hours back in the same day. I'm going to make a weekend.
You leave too many options behind when you do that.
Way too many options, especially if you don't make it down that way nearly as much. And I got to explore the downtown Cincinnati and over the Rhine and some areas of Cincinnati that I've never been in my life, and I kind of fell in love with the city in the 2.5 days that I was down there. You're not going to get that in a day down and day back kind of trip.
No.
Because I was talking to Keith before, a couple of buddies and I, a couple of weeks ago, we went to Chicago, and I felt lucky just hitting 7. And we were there because my buddy and I, we went up that Thursday night to Six Flags Great America. Then on the way back, it was like, cool, we can stop at Phase 3, so I knocked that off. Then we did 7 in that Saturday, Sunday, plus Beer Temple. So...
Well, I was impressed that Keith, when you guys were down here, you were able to get to 9. That's an impressive trip.
It is impressive.
The older I get, the more that seems a bit of a stretch. I mean, the most we've hit is 10, and I can say this: when we've done that, I don't remember the last. By the time the next day rolls around, so let me explain why. Our plan, it's myself and 2 other buddies. And we go down and we typically order a flight of everything they've got on tap.
Wow.
So that, and we share that between the 3 of us. So it's not like we're pounding beers or anything.
Mm-hmm.
The 8th stop that we hit on this tour was West Side. And I think West Side had like 32 beers. And being the 8th stop, we started at 11 a.m. at BC's Brewing, which is north of Cincinnati, and we ended there. And we had 2 more that we were planning to hit, so we ended up rushing through and like pounding the last of them to try to get. And we ended up getting to our 9th stop, which was Melotone. The sober, rational me afterwards is thinking maybe we want to look at like 7, 6, 7, 6, 7, and to be able to manage the expectations, still remember everything about it. And we hit some for the first time this year that were amazing breweries that I had not been to. Swine City was the second time I've been there. Was interesting experience for those guys. A couple of key beers that we were looking forward to there. Went to Hearth Brewing for the first time, and they were great. And they're so far out west of the city. I don't know what else would take me out there for those guys, or to 13 Lots, which is a little bit further south. So we like made a focused effort to get to some of these out of the way places versus the ones up the 75 and the 71 corridors, which is great. But the drive time in between adds so much to the day that it's like, maybe let's tighten this up a little bit in future years. So, and I'm not so old that I'm not so young anymore that I feel I have to like drive and hit that 9 and 10 number anymore.
Well, it's hard. Like if you're at a stop and you start, in a conversation with somebody, or you decide you're going to grab some food or something like that, then you start thinking, all right, now the schedule's changing. Which one is this knocking off of later today? Which one did I really want to go to that now I'm not going to get to go to? Like, how do then it becomes, then it's like, then you're stressing out about time, and then it's like that takes away from the whole trip. And it's like, you gotta have that perfect kind of balance between them.
And yours would
actually happened at Swine City, because our next stop was Alexandria, and my son, who ended up driving us for the rest of the day as our DD, which was a smart thing to do, he was meeting us there. So I'm literally like, oh shit, son's waiting, guys, we got to go meet my boy so that we can pass on this responsibility to him to let ourselves enjoy the rest of the day.
Right.
I'm impressed that you hit 9 with 3 of you, especially as geographically as spread it out as yours were. Now tried that with a group of 7 like we had in April, and then think about like you talk about, getting to some of the breweries and you start getting engaged in conversation, enjoying yourselves and ordering food. And I mean, man, does the schedule, best intentions, we're going to hit 10 breweries today. And it ends up being like 7, if you're lucky.
And you're right.
Oh, and by the way, I think our last stop was also Melatonin, which ended with some Malort for me. So I don't have strong memories of Melatonin either.
I feel like you drank an espresso martini too.
I did drink an espresso. I needed a break from beer. So where was that?
I'm told we did green tea shots.
Wow.
Don't remember, but I'm told that's what we did.
Northern Row. Northern Row is where the espresso martini was. I do remember that.
And that was supposed to be our 10th spot, but we just couldn't make it before they closed. And I love that spot. I love the distillery side of it. I love the brewery side. The facility interior is amazing. Just a little sad that we couldn't make it this year.
My big excursion, like what Keith was talking about, was actually I went back on my phone to look. November 19th, 2018, I started at 9:15 a.m. in Charlotte, North Carolina at Resident Culture Brewing. And again, this was all work related, but like my flight was at 8:30 that night. So I was like just trying to pack as much as I could into that one day, because I got in like the day before, met up with a friend, had some stuff. This was a work day, and it was like, I think I ended up at eight breweries, and 4 or 5 of them were like full-fledged, 15, 20-minute interviews, plus drinking, lots of Ubering. Some of them were like, this is walkable. I think it's called Benny Boy Brewing in Charlotte. He drove me to Sugar Creek to drop me off. I thought I did a really good interview with the owners of Sugar Creek, and listened back.
It's the best interview ever.
And he was drunk. They had been golfing all day. I was drunk. I had been drinking all day. And then I remember getting, like, everyone kept giving me beer to take home, and all I had was a backpack. So I was literally throwing. I think I threw my shoes away. I threw, if I couldn't wrap a bottle, because this is like 18, you're still getting a lot of bottles versus cans. And I'm pretty sure some socks and underwear left just because I needed more room. And I remember like taking the backpack off and putting it on the scale, and it was like 48 pounds. And the girl's like, "Oh, that's a backpack. You can just," I'm like, "No, I can't bring this on the plane." And so I paid whatever it was, the $40 or whatever, to check it. And I'm like, just be careful with this. It's all glass, and it made it through. And then I do remember the other thing, which I just found hilarious. There was a Toledo Walleye hockey player on my flight, and he brought his dog with him. So I got to pet a dog while I was drunk on a plane home from Charlotte to Toledo, and talked hockey with a Toledo Walleye player. So that was my, I drank too much, and I still have that interview. So I'll be happy to share it. You guys can have the laugh as well.
Oh yeah, I want to listen.
I thought I was being so astute, and it was.
I still don't think any of us could top Gnome's single day record.
No, I don't think so. 38 is my record. But again, you talk about it. It's not like a day of like going and like hanging out at breweries. It was 15 minutes in each stop. You walk in, you get your beer, you drink it, you turn around, you leave. It 3 different drivers throughout the day, so that one driver doesn't get too exhausted, because it was a 16-hour day.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot. But in the end, I was just looking it up. In the end, I only drank 135 ounces of beer, which is not as much as you would expect with 38 breweries.
38 stops, yeah, for sure. That's like a 4-ounce pour on some of those, and that's like the max that you have.
Yeah, so my rule was whatever the smallest serving size that they sell. So not like just a little squirt off the top, but whatever their smallest serving size is of their lowest ABV beer was the rule. But yeah, it was a big day. And then I went to jail at the end of it, so it didn't.
We don't recommend you try that. Don't try that one at home.
So I did track during our day. Between all 3 of us, we drank 678 ounces of beer.
Jesus.
Which turned out to be just over 14 pints each.
That's a good day.
Wow.
It from 11 a.m. to whatever time we stop, 10, 11 o'clock at night, so 12 hours at night.
Now, are you one of these lucky people that does not get hangovers, Keith? Because there's no way on earth. I mean, even in my best day in my youth, when I was pounding like, a 30-pack of Ice House at a NASCAR race, I mean, there's no way I was not waking up with a hangover the next day.
The older I get, the harder it gets. And it's been a journey to figure out what works. Like for a long time, it was liquid IV multiple times through the night to get those electrolytes and the hydration and all that back in me. If you've been on social media, I'm sure you've seen the whole Cheers conglomeration of stuff. We actually did that, and I bought it. They didn't send it to me. I'm not posting this for, free advertising or whatever. we did the hydration stuff, took their liver prep, did their post drink in the next morning, and I actually felt fine.
Wow, that's impressive. Because, we all have that one friend that says they're pretty much allergic to hangovers, that they can just drink and drink as much as they want and never, I don't know if their liver is made of steel or what. I'm not that guy. Like anything more than 3 beers in a day.
Have you guys seen this stuff? This is it doesn't work, for the record, at least in my experience. It's called safety shot. Supposedly there's some kind of science to this. Like hospitals are buying it, like to help people that come in that are like have consumed way too much alcohol. It, in theory, and again, my experience has not worked. It doesn't just reduce your hangover. It actually lowers your blood alcohol content faster than anything else would naturally. Like there's some kind of thing in there that makes your body process the alcohol faster. Again, I've still gotten hangovers. I did this. I still never posted the.
Sounds like bullshit to me, but.
I mean, but then that's what I thought. And in my experience, I've gotten hungover with it, so I don't know. I did this, and I've never written the article. Or I was going to make a video or an article or something about it. And there was a couple nights where I literally just sat at the dining room table with a bottle of whiskey, timing in between shots of whiskey to get myself to a measurable level of drunk on like the exact same time. With the exact same meals in my stomach. Like it was this really ridiculous thing that I went through to get like to the same level of drunk on several nights in a row. And then one night with this, one night without, one night with water, one night with, like it didn't do anything. It didn't make any difference. It was the exact same drunk, and yeah, still got a hangover.
All for science.
Yeah.
Trying to show the stuff, and it doesn't go through. There's like a hydration thing, a thing that you're supposed to take daily to help your liver after your last drink of the night, and then first thing in the morning. And it's like it deals with the acid aldehyde that gets generated and all that other stuff. And
that's a lot of work when you're drunk.
Yeah. Dude, I prepped it. I took the hydration stuff and I pre-filled the bottles so that when we got back to the room, it was waiting for us with the tablets, and I did all that. So you have to like plan for it if you're being crazy. But I woke up and I felt fine, and then we went to Third Eye because the hotel we stay at is at the Sharonville Convention Center, which is right across the street from Third Eye in Sharonville. And we get up and go there for breakfast, hair of the dog, brunch kind of deal before heading home. I felt just fine the next morning. So I've been down that road where it feels like, sand in your eyes and the head pounds and all that. And all I can say is it seemed to work this time for me.
My struggle is like every time something has worked, I can't ever figure out if it actually worked or if I just didn't have a hangover for some reason. Like sometimes you hit perfect on staying hydrated and all that stuff throughout the day, and you just don't have a hangover. And so I can never tell if this miracle cure that I stumbled across actually worked or if it's just luck. I have this powder stuff called like Alkavit or something like that. It's like this green powder you dump in a water bottle and shake it up and drink it, and that has worked for me every time I've tried it to not have a hangover. but I don't know if it's because of the miracle powder or if it's just because I chugged an extra bottle of water before bed. Who knows?
Mhm.
Well,
Liquid IV generally seems to work pretty good for me.
Yeah.
I'm drinking NA tonight, so I'll be good.
Yeah,
I got AleSmith Speedway NA.
you're not even zebra striping. How is that, by the way?
I mean, it tastes like cold brew coffee because it's a stout, or what do they call? What do they always call them?
Stout-like beverage.
No, they call it dark. They can't use the word stout in
Right.
NA advertising, so they call it a dark. This one actually doesn't. It just says non-alcoholic craft brew Speedway, malt beverage with coffee and natural flavors. So yeah, I kind of, and again, and Rob knows this. I'm not a coffee beer person. I like stouts and I like like the coffee flavors of a darker beer, but like when they are put in a light beer, like a coffee cream ale or something like that, just not my jam. And I realized after I opened this, I'm like, this just tastes like I'm drinking cold brew, which makes me actually want to make. I just saw this recipe for it's instead of a Long Island iced tea, it's a Long Island Frappuccino or something like that. And now I could probably do it with this NA beer in place of cold brew.
What is the best non-alcoholic beer you guys have tried? I assume you guys have tried a few of them, but
Guinness 00.
Yeah, that's what I've heard almost universally as being one of the best.
I'm
I gotta
ashamed.
I haven't had it, but I've heard nothing but great things about Guinness 00.
I'm ashamed of the one that I think tastes the most like beer, and that's Budweiser 0.0. I think it tastes the most like what it's going for.
Well, I mean, in fairness, Budweiser tastes like water anyway. So
Yeah, it's
if that's what you're trying to point to, the comparison's easy.
yeah,
This was good. This is Best Day
best time.
Electro Lime Mexican style.
Yeah.
And I would say like it just tastes like you're kind of drinking like a fruity beverage. Like not, I wouldn't say it tastes like a lime Modelo or anything, but it works. My wife picked this up and so I just stole one from her. So those are kind of like
Green Cheek Brewing's Safety Jacket.
it's out of Florida, right? No, San
California,
Francisco.
Anaheim.
California. Yeah.
I was out there for work in the middle of June and was able to stop in, and it was absolutely fantastic. Tasted like a beer.
Wow.
But it's one of the best things I've ever had.
I don't have
from an NA side. Very, very West Coasty, not the hazy New England style, but really, really good.
I don't have a huge back catalog, so to speak, of NA. So I'm not an authoritative expert on this by any means. But some of the ones that I've had, best day, like you just held up, John, is I've had a couple from them. I think I've had their Kolsch, which was pretty good. Athletic has been kind of hit and miss for me. Brewdog's 00 or whatever they call it, Brewdog AF, terrible. I've never had a Brewdog alcoholic-free one that I enjoyed. But there's some good ones out there for sure. It's still, as much as they've improved over the years, it still is kind of hit and miss for me anyway.
I've found there's this stuff made by a company called Hoplark that's hop tea that I think is absolutely fantastic. Like if I'm looking for a non-alcoholic beverage, like I'll lean towards that, depending on obviously context of when I'm drinking it, because it tastes kind of like an IPA to me, and it's got more body to it, and it just tastes better than the non-alcoholic ones that I've tried.
No,
So I usually end up leaning there.
Hop waters, I think I would rather lean towards when it comes to scratching the IPA-ish versus drinking an NA IPA.
Yeah.
It just seems that it's just the hop flavors are there with the bubbles. Like it's at least mimics. But yeah, I've never really liked that. I guess I call it like it just tastes like unfermented wort, like homebrew ish flavor, and just I've never been a fan of NA. So I do it's either got to be like this where it's coffee forward and there's like it's completely masking that, or it's got to be something lighter with some fruit in it, because then at least you're not just tasting the fake beer.
I want more options that are good options when you go out places. Like I don't want to walk into a brewery and say I want a non-alcoholic something for my only choice to be something from Athletic and it's some kind of wordy, kind of gross non-alcoholic beer. Like I just put something on that actually tastes good. Like stop trying to replicate beer.
The 50. Have you had the 50 West pineapple hop water?
Yeah, that's great. Like
that's
something
actually
like that.
a very, very solid option. Now, it does not present itself as beer as beer by any stretch of the imagination. It's not like that Green Cheek NA West Coast IPA that I had. It is hop water, but it gives enough of a flavor and character, and you throw the pineapple in there to give it a little bit more full-bodied flavor. And it's, very refreshing, and it's very easy to drink.
Yeah, I don't always need it to try to pretend to be beer. Like I'm okay with something that tastes like something else.
Right.
Half the beer out there doesn't taste like beer.
Also true.
I mean, I guess it might not be called beer at all, but I just recorded an episode at a brewery at Inglewood called Full Circle Brew Garden, and they make fresh kombucha. It might not be considered NA, but it's low enough where I was like, oh wow, this actually tastes like I could, because it's like 0.5.
Yeah.
But it had like a sour. I only tried the main version of it, and it had like a sour taste to it. It almost tasted like I was drinking sour. I was like, ooh, I could drink these.
Oh yeah.
Because I've had like Ghosts from Rheingeist, and I think Warped Wing made one.
Yeah.
I tried one time, but they just didn't really hit my notes. I'm not calling myself an alcoholic right here, but it just was missing something.
Yeah,
outside of alcohol.
The body, the flavor.
I would say, like, I do think the Rheingeist ones are pretty good. I think the one that Warped Wing did was pretty good, but it just doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't scratch that same itch. It's a whole different product. I mean, people are buying them; they're flying off shelves. So,
yeah.
I think that's that generational thing too, where those of us millennials, Gen Xers, whatever, we're still drinking the beers and the bourbons and the whatevers, and those newer generations are bypassing all that. But if they're looking for those options,
they're still drinking them. They're just drinking everything. That's like they're drinking a beer, and then that same night or the next day they're drinking something non-alcoholic, and then the next day they're drinking weed water, and then like they're jumping to everything. But they're still drinking beer.
Not in Ohio, they're not.
John,
They're still
water anyway.
Well, they're still. I promise you, they're still drinking it. That's the advantage of being here in Cincinnati, is that in theory, if you wanted to skirt the law, you could scoot right over into Kentucky and buy your weed water and then come back home. I don't encourage people to do that because it's definitely a felony, but I hear that there are some kids that are doing that.
So what's going on? So what's going on with the the 10 breweries are allowed? Can you describe what's going on with this?
Yeah, it's on one hand, it's kind of simple. So Senate Bill 56 was passed, and in that, DeWine line item vetoed the carve out for THC beverages, and there were 10 producers that all got together. There were other ones that they tried to get on that decided they didn't want to be a part of it, but those 10 got together and sued and said that this is a violation of not. This is where it gets a little confusing. Their claim is that the state is violating some kind of interstate commerce clause or something like that, because they are saying that it's not that you can't make these, you just have to make them through one of our licensed places and sell them in our licensed buildings if you want to. So they're saying that it's the state kind of overstepping their bounds there. A judge said that they have enough grounds to possibly win the case, so he issued an injunction just for these 10 companies that sued. So other people that didn't sue are still banned from making them. These 10 companies are there is now an injunction that says they can't be prosecuted for anything that is in that Senate bill. Technically, from what I can put together, it still isn't legal for anybody to buy them. But they're now those 10 companies are making them and selling them, and it's legal for them because they can't be prosecuted. From what I can tell,
are they?
I don't know all of them. I know Cycling Frog is here. I know Costello from Urban Artifact is being sold. The Saucy, whatever that's called, theirs is here. There's I don't know all of them, but
I know
you can buy those.
Breweries up here in Columbus, like Seventh Son was really going down that route, and it really impacted kind of their entire marketing and business model plan by taking that away from them.
Well,
Colin Castor did a great video for Seven Sons page.
Yeah,
Instagram and Facebook, and talking about the whole hypocrisy of it. Like, hey, I'm standing in Indiana right now, and I'm legally allowed to drink this. I'm in an underground bunker, and then he's like, he fast forwards to him back at his tap room in Seven Son, saying like, I could be arrested for drinking this right now.
Well,
Like, make sense.
Even crazier right now, I can sit there and I can hold in one hand a 5 milligram THC seltzer from Urban Artifact, and that's okay. But then I can hold another 5 milligram one from 50 West, and that's not okay. And we're lucky, and down here in Cincinnati, we're right across the river. Places like 50 West, we're able to say, okay, like we can't produce it ourselves. Clearly, there's a market for it. We'll go across the river. We'll have somebody contract it for us. We'll make it down there. We'll sell it down there. Our customers can still just shoot across the river and consume them there while they're across the river. Of course, they wouldn't take them home again. That would be a felony. That's wrong. But they can go there and drink them if they want. And so they're able to at least meet some of that demand still. But it's ridiculous. It's definitely again another overstep.
There's a longtime talk show host who passed away a couple years ago in the Cleveland area, WTAM. Mike Trevisano, his name was, and his catchphrase was always, "I live in a world that I don't understand." I don't think there's a better phrase that you can use to kind of explain everything that's going on right now. Like, I live in a world I don't understand. Like, make any of this make sense. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. None.
Because how close are we getting to the other issue within the United States Senate or House Rep pass something too? How close are we getting with that too?
November is when that goes into effect, where it'll be illegal federally. There's a lot of hope from everybody saying that will kind of get that'll get fixed by the time the deadline actually hits, but I don't know. I'm not confident in that. maybe after next year, after we get it, after elections, maybe.
I live in a world I don't understand.
I don't encourage people to give the middle finger to laws like that, but if you do, I salute you.
Don't encourage it, but you salute it.
Yeah.
To acknowledge it and recognize it.
Yeah, but I don't encourage
it. I'm not telling you to, but if you do,
yes.
Very fine line.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that if prohibition always works really well to curb illicit substances. It always works great.
Absolutely.
We have history to prove it.
Yeah.
Just ask my kids. If I tell them that they can't do something, I mean, they always don't do that thing, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you think craft beer is going in 2026 so far? Because it seems like from the people I've talked to, it's doing better-ish than last year. Is that what you guys are seeing, or are we still, where are we right now?
I think the key part of that phrase that you just said, Blake, is ish.
Like, people are saying sales are doing better than past years, but
I think it's number one. It depends who you talk to.
Yep.
And then number 2, you have to define what better actually
Better
means. Yeah.
Better compared to what?
Yeah. And
I think established places are doing fine. I don't think you're getting as many, like, from, back in the day, we would have, 2 or 3 new craft breweries opening in a particular area over a month or two. I don't think we're seeing that. You're seeing, I think, solid performance from existing breweries that have reputations for doing good beer and doing it well. And I think you're seeing some of those, a minority of those, expanding into new locations. I've seen a couple of very good breweries like opening second locations. But that's not happening. That expansion is not happening the way it had been in the past.
Yeah, I think a lot of, especially talking to business owners that run breweries now, they understand their definition of success has changed in the past 5 to 10 years. Getting by is considered a good standard. You always used to be, we have to open another place. We're making, all of these SKUs and, 100 beers a year. And now it's like, okay, well, we're cool with 6 cores. Only a couple of them are going to leave. A lot of the people that will have, if you have a tap room model, and if you have a tap room model with food, you're definitely getting more towards that mentality now. I think we kind of went away from that. Hospitality, you hear that word way more than you did 10 years ago. It's not just throwing a picnic bench out in an industrial lot and no AC and you just line up and have a couple beers. There's got to be an element to it. There's got to be what's in it for the consumer. I want to say what's in it for me, but not me personally, but me as a consumer, or anyone as a consumer. You have to cater to them more than you ever had to be able to establish your business and be unique. And it's not just about being unique in beer, it's being unique in experience. And I think that's the biggest change that everyone, no matter, it's been over the years, but it's starting to get louder. I hear that more. And even just in my coverage, I have changed a lot of things that I probably, if I go back and read my articles from 10 years ago, I don't think that's the way to grow anymore. And even the word grow sometimes isn't even used, because it's how do you sustain.
I want to just jump in very quickly on the point that you brought up, John, and I'll let then Gnome and Rod go and add their perspective. You talked about the air conditioning, and I think the comfort of the consumer is much more important than it was 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, when this all. I think we've all been to the craft brewery that was a giant open warehouse, and you would go in and you would sweat, but it was worth it. Now the consumers are like, no. I need to be comfortable. I don't want to glisten. I don't want to do any of that stuff. We got to have air conditioning. We got to have comfy seating. We got to have this. We got to have that to make that work. So that came up in our discussion when we were doing our brewery hop in Cincinnati. It was like, wow, every place we hit seemed to have air conditioning, and it had this and it had that, which made it a much more comfortable experience. No one was willing to get outside their comfort zone just to experience the beer in the brewery.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jim, didn't mean to step on you.
No, you're fine. I think we kind of touched on this the last time we did kind of one of these panel type discussions. That's emblematic, I think, of the fact that we, the guys all sitting here on this call right now, are kind of your core craft beer customer, right? Like, we're not bringing a lot of new craft beer drinkers into the fold. There aren't a whole lot of 20-somethings that are picking up craft beer for the first time. So the ones that used to be comfortable sitting in a dingy, dark, cold, or hot warehouse at a picnic bench and being perfectly fine with that, or being perfectly fine with sitting in a line for a new beer release for 2 or 3 hours, we're now 10, 15 years older, and we don't want to do that anymore. So we're the ones that want the air conditioning. We're the ones that want pleasant atmosphere, and we're the ones that want, I mean, breweries are adjusting and having those things like a comfortable tap room with air conditioning because of us. We're older. And if we're going to get out of our basements and come drink in a tap room instead of drinking at home, we want to be in a comfortable environment. You got to adapt to your clientele.
I want to go back to the original question of like, if things are, I think it was the original question. Maybe it was directly right after it. If things are better, are things better than they were before? And like, that's where I keep getting hung up with. Like, I think things are great. And in some regards, yes, it's better. Like the beer is better than it's ever been. Comfort is definitely better than it's always been.
Yep.
But what have we also lost? And I think that having those spaces that were just about the beer, the unair conditioned warehouses with a picnic table where you were there just for the beer, we've lost something about that too. And so I don't know that part of it is better. I think that part of it is a lot worse than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it ever comes back. I don't know if it can come back. I don't know if that's something that you're able to have with all of the other glitz and glam and comforts that come with the modern kind of state of craft beer. In my head, it should be able to, but evidence points to not being able to survive at the same time.
Do we romanticize that a little bit, though, Gnome? I mean,
No,
you and I both agree with that. Like, I miss that, but I don't know if I necessarily personally want that anymore. Like,
so there was another local brewery, and this has been a couple years, that opened up in the former Rivertown space, which is in Lockland. Warehouse, no air conditioning. The bar is kind of wonky. One end is higher than the other. It's a tap room like tap rooms used to be in 2009 when it opened up. And
ungodly hot.
Yeah, incredible. It's miserably hot. They did have like a separate room eventually they opened up. It was air conditioned, so if you got too hot, you could go in this other little air conditioned room and sit and drink your beer, which it's like a little cold box kind of. But anyway, another brewery opened in that space, and their beer was never great. It was okay. The people were wonderful, and so that kind of made up for it. But every single time I went there and I sat down in that hot tap room, I was like, oh my God, like I've missed this so much. Like I miss this feeling and this, everybody's here for the beer. Everybody's talking about beer. Everybody's excited about beer. It's all about beer. And so I don't know that it's just a romanticizing of it.
Are they still there?
No, that one closed and they sold it to somebody else that was going to do like all Mexican lagers or something. And I don't want to claim that they were doing anything illegal, but they didn't last very long, and I don't think they ever made a drop of beer.
They were one of our stops several years ago on our brewery hop. That's why I was curious if they were still there or not. Because I agree. People were great. Beer was okay.
Yeah, but there was definitely something really exciting about being back in like a space that was all about the space. Just the other night, I was down at Northern Road drinking a bunch of Kolsch for Kolsch night, and ran into an old friend, and we were talking. We connected back at Mount Carmel, when Mount Carmel was, before they built their restaurant, there was just this little tiny tap room tucked on the side of the brewery. And we were kind of talking about this same conversation about the state of craft beer right now. And consensus at the table was, yeah, like things are great. Like the beer is so good. And like we can go get a really great dinner at a brewery now. And that's really awesome. But it's just not what it used to be. Like there's something that's just missing now. Like there's some kind of thing that you used to have when you would go to these little tiny tap rooms and hang out and meet people and just talk about beer. The place would shut down and the person behind the bar would be like, hey, if you guys want to hang back. We got some bottles we're going to crack open. Like that doesn't happen anymore. Like that was part of the culture that somehow has gotten lost.
Fair.
And I've heard you talk about that so many times on your podcast, and I can't disagree with anything you just said. You're absolutely 100% correct.
And it's hard to argue that we're in a worse spot because the beer is so good. Like better is the word that I get hung up on. I don't know what that means.
Yeah. No, I agree. Go ahead.
I think to me, that's where I intentionally seek out smaller upstart breweries that maybe still offer a better, more comfortable experience. That's, an air-conditioned tap room. It's not hot. It's not sweaty. It's not in a cavernous warehouse. But it's still small enough that you can sit down at the bar and have a conversation with the bartender who also happens to be the brewer.
Right.
Yeah. To me, that's kind of like the happy medium, and those kind of places are fewer and far between. But one of the best experiences I've had in the last probably 2 years was at a small little place called Good Lady Brew House out in Damascus, Ohio, in Stark County or Columbiana County. I'm not sure. One county over from me, about a 20-minute drive from me. And I sat there and had 1 or 2 flights of beer, and I talked to both the owners, and it was basically it's where they live. Like, their house is here and their tap room is their garage behind their house. I mean, it was as small gets in terms of, but the tap room was comfortable. It wasn't hot. It wasn't sweaty. There was air conditioning going on. It had all those elements of a modern craft beer. It wasn't 2009. But you still had the element of being able to sit at the bar and talk to the person who made the beer and just BS about beer like, I could have sat there and talked to Sam, the owner, brewer, for 5-6 hours. Like, and I totally get where you're coming from, Gnome. Like, I miss that aspect of it. I don't miss the hot, sweaty warehouse, but I miss that culture of bonding over a beer and talking about it, and hey, the lights are out and all the other customers are gone, let's bust out these bottles and sit here and talk about, drink some more and talk about it more. To me, there's a happy medium, so I will intentionally kind of seek out those good lady brew house type of places more than a giant cavernous place like a Rheingeist, just because I want that connection. I want the comforts of a nice air-conditioned tap room, but I want 2009 in terms of the relationship building and sitting there and BSing with the owner. That part for me is gone. Yeah, that experience is gone more than it's not. So it's very rare that when you find one of those places, I intentionally seek those out.
Yeah. It's as I'm thinking about this in my head, I'm thinking that, like, there aren't many industries that, as they do grow, are able to, like, kind of go back and capture that or hang on to it for any kind of length of time. The only thing that I can come up with that still kind of really has that on lockdown is barbecue. People that make barbecue. Like, you can still find places all over the country that are on the side of the road, just some guy standing by a grill with a picnic table sitting in a parking lot making the best barbecue that you can get. But then there's also these fancy places where you go and you sit down and they give you a napkin with your cloth napkin with your barbecue. What are you
Fork
doing?
and knife.
But somehow barbecue has managed to hang on to both ends of that spectrum. And like, if anybody else can do it, it should be craft beer, I would think.
I would agree.
And there are still those hidden gems out there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And if you're lucky to find them, you're lucky to find them.
Yep.
Because one thing I really enjoy about recently with Warped Wing right now is that, like, it's like every Thursday this year they've come out with a brand new beer. It might not be a new beer, but they've held on to their beer releases, and like about every Thursday they're coming out with something in the past or something brand new, and that brings me back to like how I got to craft beer in the first place, was going to beer releases and how they've managed to hang on to that aspect where you see some other places that, like, they do beer releases, but they don't make like events out of them anymore,
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that. And I think, Gnome, you've talked about that in some of your recent podcasts that I've heard of. The bottle releases, the new beer releases, where there would be lines of people out. You never see that anymore. That doesn't happen since COVID.
Yeah, I don't know if it was because of COVID or if it just happened to be the timing all kind of coming together at the same time. I mean, I can, here in Cincinnati, I can say like that what happened, in my opinion, was that the beer release itself stopped being special. Everybody was having a beer release. There was something going on every weekend. And then people started splitting their time, and then the line itself starts to just not be what it used to be because this person went to this one and this one went to this one. And now instead of everybody at the same spot, everybody's at different spots. And that kind of killed the whole idea of the line culture. But I think that there probably are some places, again, that are still able to hang on to that. Probably not many.
I think the closest experience that I've had, at least in Columbus, are the anniversaries for the breweries, where they do a special release for the anniversary and people show up for the event and the beer associated with that event. I don't think it's the same overall experience with like the line of people just showing up, but I think you'll get more people who are familiar, have the connection with that brewery, want to be part of that. Like I know here in Columbus, there are certain breweries like, it's your anniversary. I'm going to come there. I'm going to try what you have. You've got the special stuff that you do. I want to be here to be part of that, to be that experience. I think that's the closest thing you get to that anymore.
Yeah, it'll never be what it was when you had places like Listerman once a month doing a can release and everybody would show up. You're making breakfast in line and like that. I don't think that'll ever happen again like that, but
God, I miss Listerman.
I miss the Listerman that I like to remember in my head.
Yeah.
There's something very sad about watching a place kind of burn itself out that is depressing. You'd much rather have places that end at the top of their game, like Blank Slate did here in town. It's just like, yep, we're done. Like we're
That's another one
when things are good.
Well, and the funny thing, it's interesting that you mentioned that because that was kind of circulating in my head around here. When we were doing our tour last week, I would talk to different people, and the impact that Blank Slate had on the Cincinnati beer scene is tremendous. To where, like even now, today, this brewery is doing a version of a different name for a Blank Slate recipe. This other brewery is doing another recipe. They've changed the name, but it's that paying homage back to the impact that Blank Slate had on the Cincinnati beer scene. I was only there once, like early on in my Cincinnati brewery hop thing. My buddy and I, before it was three, there was two of us, and we actually walked from street side, walked down to Blank Slate, and it was like one person in the bar, and it was just the two of us as they were closing, but we still had the great beers, and it's just a beautiful experience. But the impact they've had on the entire scene down there is tremendous, and those are the stories now that I really love to hear about. It's like, what's that impact that somebody's had on everybody else in that community?
There's not many places like that, and when you look at some of them, like Blank Slate was only around for 5 years. Same as New Albion was around for 5 years, and look at like kind of what they like spawn after them, how they create these other offshoots then that grow into other stuff, and like there aren't a lot of places that are able to do that. There's places that are wonderful while they're open, and sure, there's people that remember it fondly, but they don't like create like this tentacle that shoots out through craft beer after they were around. It's a rare thing, and I don't know exactly what it is about Blank Slate that did it. I don't know if it was a cultural thing with them, if it was just this kind of FU idea of we're going to make whatever we want to make and just try to tell us that it's not right.
They were ahead of their time.
Yeah, it wasn't
They
even
were 100%.
It wasn't even like, even if you put those beers now, they would be groundbreaking, because everybody, when you make a mustard beer, everybody's just making a mustard beer. Like when Blank Slate made Turn for the Worst was their sausage spiced Oktoberfest. It's still an amazing Oktoberfest, and if you strip away all of the other weird stuff that they do to it, it's still a great Oktoberfest. But they take this beautiful base and they're like, all right, now what does this speak to me? And it has to be something that feels real and has some kind of actual like story to it and something that connects with you. And it was like, oh, Oktoberfest, like it's it's a sausage beer. Like it, but not just dump some flavoring in there to make it taste like a sausage. No, it's like, all right, we're gonna figure out how to build a sausage beer out of an Oktoberfest. They were doing things back then that people still aren't doing now, which is tough.
Is Scott Dill still doing anything? Last I heard he was at 50 West, but I know and maybe March 1st.
Yeah, he left 50 West, went to March 1st for a while, got out of the industry. I have heard he is back in the industry, but not in not in a fun role that anybody would like. He also doesn't like it when I talk about him. He doesn't like me very much.
I can't imagine people not liking you.
I'm
We know
polarized.
Hofbrauhaus doesn't like you, but
I don't. Here's the thing with Hofbrauhaus. I don't think Hofbrauhaus has any idea who I am. I was banned from Hofbrauhaus by the Newport Police Department. I don't think Hofbrauhaus.
So Newport Police don't like you.
They definitely don't like me.
So when you were talking about how Listerman going down, because you guys have been covering beer longer than I have, what's the initial when you see a brewery starting to fall a little bit? Is there something that happens all of a sudden, or is it something you see something gradually, like something's not going right, or is it kind of both?
For me, it's gradual. I don't think anything happens fast with something like that, but. I mean, you start to notice beers that don't have the time and attention put to them. Little things around the tap room. You notice people that should be hanging out there for longer, like people that work there. They should be staying there longer. That are now leaving for other jobs that aren't moving up in the industry. It's just a lateral move, trying to get out of a space. You see people that just aren't having fun. It's the biggest red flag to me.
Yeah,
I think there's that, but there are a couple of spaces that you go to that are almost like completely obvious that that's going to happen. There are some that the quality's not there, the experience is not there, the audience isn't there, and then it's like, yeah, I'm not surprised that this place disappeared. But then there are the ones that, like the Listermans, who that they do have that history. That it's all right. You start to see those little elements that start falling by the wayside that lead to it. So I do think it's kind of both.
Yeah, and I think sometimes too, the ones that surprise you because they're still good, they're not good, and this is more of a business thing nowadays than it is in the last 10 years ago. Let's say it's just the fact that all of a sudden rent is going to go up and they can't afford it. And, there aren't as many people coming out, and it doesn't mean that it's anything they did per se, other than sign a lease 10 years ago that screwed them. And that's an overall arching thing. I've getting, hearing from breweries in like major metropolitan cities that were very well established, Call to Arms Brewing in Denver, just up and gone because of that exact reasoning. There's a few where it's like on the flip side, I can't believe that these guys are still open. Like, it doesn't seem like it should keep going, and whether or not they're just throwing bad money on top of bad money, and hoping and crossing their fingers, and then at the same time, I see some people opening up, breweries from breweries that have closed. Rob and I just talked with Keith Snyder, who I'd still have to remember like how to say this, because he came from Ernest 60cc Brewing, and my fingers crossed for him. Like, it's a small location in an area that doesn't have a lot of craft beer, but he makes great craft beer, so I think that's going to be the saving grace for him. And you just hope that, okay, I think you trust in the people now if you know them, like I'm just hoping that that when people open, they realize what a gamble it can be. It was back then too, but it's become even a tougher road to hoe now.
Yeah,
for sure.
Let's go to the flip side. Have you ever seen a brewery that you were like, I'm not sure about them, then all of a sudden they did like a 360 and now they're firing on all cylinders and their beers got better? You ever see that?
Oh, all the time.
Mhm.
A big one for me was Common Beer Company down here up in Mason. They when they started out, like it was fine. It was one of those breweries like this is one of the places that like when I'm in the area I'll stop by or I'll try to put it on a list of every 6 months or something I'll stop in here. But I'm not ever going to be excited to come in here. And gradually over the next couple years it just kept getting better and better and better, and they figured out how to make great beer, and they figured out how to just keep honing in that space and make it more and more like comfortable and homey and like everything that it should be. They nail it all perfectly. Narrow Path, I mean, like Narrow Path, everybody knows them as a great brewery. They weren't great when they opened. Like it took them a while to kind of ease into that and to start making great beer.
Yeah.
And then how they do make great beer, and then they put in beer engines behind the bar, and they like lots of stuff that was very them, but they didn't know it when they opened. It took them a while to figure that out. There's lots of places like that.
Hell,
Yeah.
up in
I think
Columbus, there are
there's a few
two
too.
very well-known breweries, Wolf's Ridge and Combustion. Combustion started in Pickerington
Yep.
and then moved into, they opened one down in Clintonville. When Combustion first opened, it was like, it was okay. But something clicked, and then all of a sudden, almost anything they did was fantastic. Same with Wolf's Ridge. Wolf's Ridge opened up, and I got to admit, the first 2 times I was there, I was like, I don't know if these guys are going to make it. And then they brought in the right people, something they did, and everything just started to take off from there. And they have become one of the best breweries in the city.
Chris Davison had a lot to do with Wolf's Ridge's success.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
I'm trying to think if I would bet the ones that started as home brewers and then they finally learned their system. I think the number one that will pop into my head is Pavlov's in Temperance, Michigan, but they're actually taking over the Black Frog location, opening up a second location this coming Wednesday, the 29th. Will be their first day there. John has been a friend of mine through the homebrew club, made great homebrew, but when you step into that 10-barrel brew house with not a lot of knowledge, it takes a while to work your way. And I'm he fumbled through a few things, and luckily it's kind of a one-horse town, so I think that helped because people kept coming back. And I think they're killing it now, and to the point where people in Michigan it's a Michigan brewery, so people in Ohio wanted them, and he didn't want to have to deal with distributors and doing stuff like that. Black Frog ended up closing. He's opening up a second brewery. They're going to be brewing same beer there and being able to serve it in Ohio. So I think that's the first one. Quench and Tempered's another where they started on one system, built a new one. It took a while to get through it, and now it's a beautiful location. They're right across from the Mud Hens ballpark, Fifth Third Field, and people. It's funny to see people are going in there and not for the first time. Seeing these guys. They've been open since 21-ish. And people think they're a new brewery just because of the fact that they moved locations, and they have this huge beer spread now, and they've built themselves to that.
So like when you open a brewery nowadays, do you think locations matters more than the beer, or is it vice versa? Let's say you want to start a brewery today. Would you want your location good, or if your beer is good enough, will people come to you?
I think it's if you can be in an area where there isn't any yet, location matters because you're the only game in town and you can kind of build yourself in. Especially, we're seeing that with, small breweries opening up in small towns. I think that's a good. If it's going to be in a place where there's already beer, then you better have good beer off the start because you're going to lose people immediately otherwise.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think probably if you would have asked me this question 5-10 years ago, I would have said location does not matter at all. If you make great beer, people will come find you. And a prime example I think was Hoofhearted in Marengo, Ohio. Marengo, Ohio. Nobody. Where's Marengo, Ohio? I mean, it's a fly speck on a map. I mean, it's a sign that you see on the way down 71 on your way to Columbus. You see a sign that says Marengo, and you're like, Marengo, never heard of it. But you go and you go to their tap room, and if you're a fan of hazy New England IPAs, which when they opened, there weren't a whole lot in the state of Ohio that were even making them. They were phenomenal. Like, they kind of put hazy on the map in Ohio, and everybody kind of followed suit and came after and started making a hazy after seeing Hoof Heart's success. They were a great example of a brewery that's in farm country in the middle of nowhere out I-71 that just made good beer in the style that they were trying to make good beer in. I wouldn't say they're like, world class or anything. They weren't making like incredible lagers or anything, but they were making great hazies, which was the hype thing at the time, and people were finding them. Now, fast forward to 2026, I think location is a little more important. I've seen some really good breweries that were well-rounded and did have great programs, but they were a little off the beaten path, maybe not in an easy place to get in or out of, and they failed, unfortunately. So I think location is a little more important than has ever been in the past. So for me, that aspect has changed. It isn't just about making great beer anymore. It's a lot of things. It is location. It is, do you offer food? Do you have, a robust events calendar? Do you offer other things to people besides beer? There's so much more to it now than a decade ago when you could get by on just, we make great beer.
Somebody told me one time that if you had to have two of the three, location, great beer, or a great story, and as long as you have two of those things, you'll succeed. And like I've kind of kept thinking about that as the years go on. I'm like, I still think it holds pretty true. Like, there are still places that can exist without a good location, as long as the beer is good and they've got a great story and people connect with it, and vice versa. There's places that can make really crappy beer, but if they've got a good brand and they're in a good spot, they'll still keep doing all right too. So like I that little triangle of magic there.
Just
that's an underrated aspect that I didn't even think about. No, like the great story part, like great story, great brand. That's totally underrated, and I wasn't even thinking about that. You're totally spot on.
100%. And just to kind of back that up in the Columbus market, we've got what I think are two breweries that do the beer amazing and the story is really, really good. Location, not so much. And one of them is Hoster Brewing, which Hoster is one of those OG Columbus breweries back in the day that did like the Dortmunder Golds and the old German styles. They did like the Hudipole and all that, the stuff from Cincinnati, they went away and then they were revised locally. The location of the brewery is not the best, but the inside of the brewery is great. The beer is fantastic, and the story they can tell is incredible. And the audience that they draw for that is amazing. And another one up here is called Two Tones. And again, it's on East Broad Street. There's like nothing around. It's kind of
Whitehall.
Yeah, a little hoodish.
Yeah,
from old white guy perspective. But the beer is fantastic, and the story they tell about where they came from and how they came about makes them, to me, a destination. It makes it worthwhile for me to go down and visit them because the beer is great, and the story they tell and the people that are involved in it are amazing. And so I think Gnome is exactly on with it's two of those three. If you've got two of those three, you've got everything figured out. If you got three of those three, sky's the limit.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, and you can't be a one-trick pony. So if we're gonna throw a fourth element into it, because for me, like Pretentious Barrel House was another one of those examples, Keith, of a Columbus area brewery that had two of the three, had a great story, had tremendous sours, didn't have a great location, but they didn't close because they didn't have a great location. They closed because they were an extremely niche brewery. Like all they did was sours, and sours are like 1% of the entire craft beer market. That's a tough slog.
Which is already small.
Yeah.
Which is already small,
Well,
right?
and if you're in Cincinnati, where you have
percentage
Urban
of
Artifact that does that, you've got a lot of other options. So those people that focus on it, Columbus, that market is much narrower, I think, which is what helped limit what that appeal was.
Well, and Urban Artifact, even though they call themselves a sour brewer, like they're fruit beers, so they have a broader appeal to like wine drinkers and stuff. Like Pretentious was like true sours, like Solera beers, and like 2 and 3 year age sours, like the really tart puckery thing, not 100%. Not like a gadget with some blueberry in it. I mean, that's a tough market.
It took a long time not a long time. It took a while for Urban to figure that out about themselves and figure out that here's who we actually are. Here's the thing that connects with our personality that is also a little wider of a market. They also don't just sell their beer in Cincinnati. I think that a lot of people don't understand or appreciate that. They distribute to more states than any other brewery in the city because they have such a niche market. You can go down to Florida and be drinking Urban Artifact because they have such a wide distribution footprint. And you can order it online from every state you legally are able to. Like they have to keep a wide net thrown out there because they have such a niche market.
Because they are so niche. Yeah,
good point.
I do want to talk about recently the U.S. Beer Open just came out, which is not many, I got called in to be a judge, which I was experiencing itself. Awesome. But it was a fun time. But I want to really talk about Ohio in general. Because Ohio, you were talking on your show, or it's not a show, your happy hour on Mondays.
It's a show that's not a show.
Yeah. But how Ohio ranked in so many.
So I don't know the actual Ohio number. I just pay attention to Cincinnati. So
Cincinnati,
97.
It depends on the media. I counted 97. Channel 3 here in Cleveland reported 101. I need to go back and read. It's somewhere in that range.
Yeah, so 54 out of Cincinnati.
Yeah. We had 37 Northeast Ohio, I think. How many do they have up there in Northwest Ohio there, John?
5, I think. Out of 3 breweries. Yeah. And I think we talked about it, but yeah, it's just I think there's a mentality here. I want to call it defeatist, but maybe it's not, and it also could be a price thing. I don't know, but I just don't think some of the breweries in our area care to enter contests. They would rather just make beer and have people come and drink it, and to each his own. But like I would, just because I live here and I would like to see some numbers in the double digits. I do wish that more would enter, but it is what it is.
That's one of the reasons we get so many of our local places to enter, is that this is one of the more affordable ones to enter as far as kind of big competitions.
Yep. And I think, John, I think that's where you can play a good role as an advocate in your area and trying to get more people drummed up for year 2 of the Ohio Craft Brew Cup, or whatever they call it, the Ohio Beer Awards or whatever
OBA,
it is. Yep. OCBA does, which went over tremendous in its first year and hopefully gets grown and is even better in year 2. We would love to see more entrants from Toledo, and you have those connections and can advocate for that part of the state and say, hey, look, the barrier to entry and the cost to enter a beer is much lower than it is for a Great Lake, a Great American Beer Fest or a World Beer Cup. Well, what's holding you back? Why not enter it? What reason is there for not doing this?
There's a weird line there too. Like, do awards matter? Like, to get people in the seats? And like my first instinct is no. Like, it doesn't really. Nobody's showing up for a brewery because they want an award. But then at the other hand, like, if you're here in Cincinnati and you're a beer fan, how are you not going to places like Third Eye or Brink? Because they're award winners. So like at some level, then it does start to take over and become a marketing factor that brings people in.
It totally does. I mean,
but I don't know where that is.
I've been hearing about this beer for years. Never had it because I can't get it in Northeast Ohio. But it's a huge award winner. It's the most awarded beer.
Multi-year award winner.
Yeah, multi-year award winner every year. Everything that it enters, whether it's GABF, World Beer Cup, U.S. Beer Open Champions, you can write it down in stone. They're going to win an award. So of course it's the beer that I grabbed out of their cooler and took a 6-pack of home with me. So I mean, to people like me anyway, it is a great marketing tool.
Right.
I mean, Keith, I think you were touching. I mean, like you were talking about how fabled. I know it's not hot, but Cincinnati, how they're starting to win awards now, and how they're starting to pick up some steam. I mean, I think awards do matter in some aspects, especially when a brewery hasn't won, and all of a sudden they start racking them in. You know.
Well, and you look at, and I know No mentioned them at the beginning of this. Third Eye. Third Eye's story is absolutely incredible. They opened during COVID, arguably one of the toughest times for anybody in the brewing industry to open. They opened during COVID. They are the winner of the best brewery of, I think it was the World Beer Cup. I think it was the Ohio Brewing. They've got so many, and Noam, you could probably back me up or correct me on this. They've won so many awards with what they're doing. Bonnie and Tom as the owners, Kelly's everything they do seems to win, to touch gold, to do whatever. To be able to pull that out as a brewery I grew up in Cincinnati. I know, Noam, you live there. Blake, you're close outside. Cincinnati is small market, but to be able to have that kind of record as a smaller market compared to any of the big cities in Colorado, in the Pacific Northwest, in California, in all these other beer places, for Cincinnati to have the breweries that they have, to perform as well as they have, is incredible to me. And I love everything about it.
Yeah, Third Eye is easily the most award-winning brewery in Cincinnati, especially if you start to factor in that a lot of those beers from Brink were originally Kelly's beers. I mean, they've obviously changed a little bit since then, but Third Eye has won 92 medals, and that's not counting like the best in shows or brewery of the year, any of those. These are just actual medals on specific beers. 92 just in their few years of being open. Like it's nonstop with them. It's a lot.
It's like 6 years for the main brewery, and then Hamilton opened 3 years ago? 4?
Yeah, something. But maybe 3.
I think 3.
Time doesn't make sense anymore.
So, I mean, bravo to those guys to make the kind of impact on the craft beer world that they have in such a short amount of time. It's great.
Yeah, and that's like we've got breweries. Like, you take Rheingeist here in town. Like they've got every ounce of marketing muscle you can think of. They've got a decent amount of money behind them to enter whatever contest they want to. They can make whatever beer they want to at whatever capacity they want to at any given moment, and to have a place like Third Eye still be able to bring home more medals than they are is it's impressive.
Well, honestly, you look at the fact that Third Eye is as award-winning as they are, but Rheingeist, they're what, top 5 in the nation as far as distribution volume?
No, I don't know about that.
Of craft, outside the macro stuff.
They're like size-wise, volume. They're 19.
But still, little Ohio, the 19th, ranked distribution. We do a lot more in Ohio than a lot of people that are outside of the state would honestly give us credit for.
Well, it's the same as it's always been, though. I mean, and the way you're wording it of distribution, like that's not the majority of Rheingeist business.
True.
Like it's people here in Cincinnati drinking the beer, and that's the way it's always been. We had these breweries putting out like 500,000 barrels, and that was but fairly normal. And most of it was right here. It wasn't going anywhere else. It was being drank where it was made. And I think that's true for a lot of big beer cities, at that time. But That's kind of our thing. I was talking to somebody the other day about kind of Cincinnati and not getting its due respect as a beer city. It actually might have been at Swine. I don't know if you were there at that time or not, but like I think that's kind of the way it's supposed to be with Cincinnati, and I'm sure other cities feel this way. Like we're always the underdog, and it feels weird if we're not. Like if your team happens to go on a run and go to the Super Bowl, it feels strange. It feels very strange, and it's uncomfortable. And I don't know that I like that feeling.
Trust me, that Super Bowl was very hard. I don't think I enjoyed it at all.
It was a little stressful, but like I would much rather people to expect us to not do anything or not make a great beer or not have a great brewery and then be surprised when we do than the reverse of that, where you go into a city and you're here, this is going to be great. I finally made this road trip to this beer city. And then you sit down for your first pint and it sucks. And you're like, what is this? And then you go to somewhere else and it sucks. And you're like, oh no, I've gone to the wrong city.
And I honestly, no, I think that's exactly true. I do travel a lot for work. I think Cincinnati, I think Ohio in general, Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland, the big three, and then the extended outside
the suburbs like Dayton,
the hoof-hearted guy. We could stand up to anybody out there. We could stand up to California beers. We can stand up to Oregon beers. We can stand up to the breweries in North Carolina. Wherever you're looking at, we are on par with all of those beers.
Yeah.
All of those breweries.
Yeah. It's funny. So, I think I posted this like on a group chat that Gnome and Rob, you're on. There's a Facebook page, and someone posted, something about like, it was all Untapped numbers is all he used. And it was like, New York is the best by, hands down state for beer. And it was a fun discussion to read because I wasn't going to get involved, but holy cow, like it's interesting to see. Everyone thinks theirs is the best.
Sure.
What is the metric that you can use to say that who is the best, which is the fun part of the argument, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. That person that was making that argument was using Untapped ratings, of course. Cause that's the holy grail, but, I mean, I think all of us kind of, most of us that aren't named John don't do the beer industry for a full-time job. Like,
yeah,
we travel for work for other things. So is there a state or a city that you've been to that is recognized as being like a beer mecca or whatever, that you got there and tried a couple places and just weren't impressed? Like what's the hype about? Is there a place that you guys have traveled to that didn't live up to your expectations? That you said, wow, we have it so much better in Ohio.
I won't say better. I will say as good as.
Yeah.
I went to Anaheim this past June, and in Anaheim, there's Bottle Logic, there's Green Cheek, there's the brewery, there's everywhere, there's Monkish. I mean, all great breweries. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal beer that I had at them. And I'm like, I've had as good at a variety of different breweries within Ohio. I think Michigan is one of those states that has that mythical beer perception. And John, you would probably know that more than anybody living where you do. But I still think we can hold our own on a style by style, beer by beer comparison. Maybe not a city to city, but so maybe this city in Michigan versus a brewery in Cincinnati or a brewery in Columbus. I think we have enough good, solid variety here that could stand up to anywhere you want to compare us to.
It's also like there's there's such a history to beer in Ohio. You know, you look at what Cincinnati was, you know, pre-prohibition, and you spend like Rob was talking about, you spend an afternoon in OTR, and it's hard not to feel that still, because it still is there. It still feels like you're in a pre-prohibition city. You know, you go on one of the tours through the lagering tunnels, and you see there's all around you, there's these historic brewing buildings, and like that's something that like you can't go into California and see that. You can't go to Colorado and see that.
No one stands up to
states.
Northern Row with that respect.
No, they're great states, but like
as a single, if I had to pick
different.
one place,
it's you know this city in a lot of ways, the state was built on beer, and in a time where that was something that meant something.
Yeah. I mean, there's an element of homerism here, right? Like all five of us are from Ohio. We love Ohio beer. That we personalize it. We know a lot of the brewers. We know a lot of the brewery owners. So we have the intimate connections to them, and we see how many awards that they win year in, year out. So I think anybody, no matter where they live, there is an element of homerism. But I've traveled a lot for work, and I honest to God would stack our beer up against just about anywhere. Washington State is another one that really super didn't impress me. Maybe I just wasn't in the right breweries. I didn't make it into like a Fremont, and my experience there is not extensive. I have not been everywhere in Washington State, but I've always heard about how great of a scene they have there. I still think we have a better one here. But again, homerism. I've been to way more breweries in Ohio than I've been into in Washington, than I've been to in Oregon, than I've been into Michigan. So that might play into it as well.
I think timing is a part of that too. Back in the 90s, I was in Vancouver, Washington, Portland, Oregon, kind of that area. Yeah. They had the craft, like first time I ever had a growler of beer that I could take was in that area. And I took it back to my hotel, and I sat there in my hotel watching TV, drink. And we didn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe back then it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like I tell my friends, our palates have matured enough based on what we have available to us here that we can stand up to anybody. What we produce here is as good as anybody will produce anywhere, with those notable exceptions, those like standouts that are regardless of where you are that you're going to run into.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I had Pliny. It was, oh my God, it was the white whale. And I was like, you know what? Bodie in Columbus or Fatheads.
Headhunter.
Okay.
Hop Juju.
Good. It's Hop Juju. It's all the same. It's like, okay, yeah, no one can compare. I think we can compare with anybody that's out there.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
I think what's interesting too is that you can walk into almost any brewery and get a great beer. Like there's been a lot of breweries I've been to in other places where I've struggled to find one that I'm like, this is a great beer. Whereas I feel like we've got a higher number percentage wise of breweries that are making great stuff. That could also be homerism.
I think I saw this.
I mean, there is an element of availability, to your point, Keith, of, it's 10, 15, 20 years ago. Some of the best West Coast IPAs were only being made on the West Coast. Some of the best hazies were only being made on the East Coast. So you had to travel or trade for those things, and along with wine culture dying, beer trading has kind of been one of those things about craft beer that's dying. Like you aren't like making friends with somebody in Oregon and saying, send me an Oregon beer now, because there's so many things in Ohio that stack up to anything that anybody could send me from Oregon. It's not like, why go through that? Why why do all the extra work? Like, there's just as many, if not more, great beers right here in my own backyard. I don't need to trade for something from 3,000 miles away.
The only difference is I do run into on the Instagram side of things, like the beer influencer side of things.
Yeah.
I will run into, hey, let's beer trade between Ohio and Chicago, Ohio and Portland. And so that the consumer side of things, we want to trade. I want to brag about my beers here. So I will do a trade with you. So give you the opportunity to brag about yours, and we can try. And it's like, oh, that's good. This is good. And do it that way. But it's not the way it used to be.
Yeah. No, I didn't want to say that like beer trading is completely dead, like it doesn't exist anymore, but it's a shadow of what it used to be.
Oh, 100%.
The only point that I was trying to make, yeah. Because of it, like, because there's so much good stuff right here in your own backyard that you don't really have to trade for stuff anymore.
It's a little different, but I do find myself grabbing like an Allagash White on tap every once in a while, just because I can't get anything locally made that tastes like that.
Fair. Allagash White
there are some beers that I'll still grab, and I'm
that's
like,
fair. Allagash White.
But I'm not trading for them.
Not
and I
trading
wasn't trading
for it,
for
but
them
if
when we
you're
couldn't get it here.
Yeah, no, you're not trading for it. But if you're out at a bar and Allagash White is on tap, I mean, that's a top 5 Desert Iron beer for me. There may be 10 other locals that are on draft as well, but I might see Allagash White, and I'm going to go with them over the locals just because nobody else is doing the Belgian Wit as good as they are. I mean, it's just that good of a beer.
And I definitely think one thing Ohio's doing right is we were talking about Urban and Third Eye, but sours I found in different states are just not good. Maybe I went to the wrong ones, but I think we're kind of maybe homerism, but I think our sours in Ohio is better than most sours anywhere.
Yeah, I really like a good, wild, funky, barrel-aged beer, and like I feel like we're a little lacking in that regard. They're out there, but they're not as plentiful as I would like them to be.
I agree with that.
Because I was able to experience no color on my Chicago trip, and their saisons were just absolutely firing on all cylinders. And I was like, oh my gosh. But,
where was that at?
Off color.
Off color.
Oh,
Yeah. I was saying we made 7. Off color was one of them. I was like, yeah, this is. Sadly, I didn't make it to Half Acre, but that's another trip. Didn't help. Revolution was doing straight jacket release that they had 5 or 6 different 16%ers as a flight, so that didn't help my cause at all.
That'll slow your day down.
What's a style in each of your areas? Toledo, Cincinnati, Northeast, Columbus, Dayton. What's a style in your area and the breweries that surround you that you don't see brewed enough that you wish would brewed more?
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, I think the one that jumped out to me the best would be barrel-aged, funky, wild beers. Yeah, get some Brett beers. And again, they're there, but not as much as they should be.
Yeah.
For me, it would be pale ale. But that's probably a lie. I think almost everyone makes some variation. But everyone wants to go straight to IPA, and I think pale ale kind of gets the short stick. And I really appreciate that as a style. So I would say that, but yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm like, brown ale. Well, now Ernest, has nailed that with Crunchy Hippie, and sours. Wildside had that going at the beginning, and I just had this conversation with Nick Scott a few weeks ago. Like, Wildside was made to be a barrel-aged sour brewery, and then he goes, "Oh, I need to make money to do this," so he started making Shotgun Lager instead. And that's, one of his big sellers. And he still has, some bottle releases and stuff like that. But it's definitely hard to be a brewery just for that. I think they just had their 8th anniversary. So, you kind of go back to that time. It was 2018-ish. Seemed like a good idea. But, yeah,
even Jester King started making clean beer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think that would be, a real day-to-day pale ale. And that can be described as either the old school Sierra Nevada Pale Ale all the way to what I consider, my favorite pale ale right now is blanking on their name, Toppling Goliath, Pseudo Sue. But that's practically a hazy, so like in that range though.
Well, that's a good point. I'll throw one out there too. That's more industry wide. West Coast IPA. That's actually a West Coast IPA.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because in June I was in Anaheim and they did less the hazies and almost everyone did like really solid Westies and they were all great. And so I think you have to look at that regionally. I know here in Columbus, it's interesting the way you asked the question you did, Rob, because it's like what you want to see.
Sure.
I'm not a fan of like the Belgian funks or the sours and things like that. So I'm not looking for those here. I don't think we do them well here, but I'm also not looking for them. I want a good, solid, like Baltic porter. Give me just a simple porter with those, not like the heavy roasting, like the light roasty notes, the light toffee note, something nice and balanced, a little on the darker side. I don't think we've, like industry as a whole, I don't think anywhere does those consistently well anymore. I think it's fallen by the wayside.
And not just Baltic porter, just porter in general. It seems to be an underrepresented style, or underbrewed style. Agree. Yeah, I mean, it's not a sexy style anymore, and you just don't see them as much as you got Great Lakes with Edmund Fitzgerald, which is just a regular American porter, and then you got Noble Beast up in Cleveland brews Murder Ballads, which is a Baltic porter, and that does very well, but it's not a regular rotational by any means. It's more of an annual kind of one-off. I would love to see a Baltic porter on more taps as like more of a regular option. For me, it is Belgians. I would love to see more doubles, triples, quads. I don't know. I love Belgian beers. Two friends up in Cleveland is actually doing a Belgian beer fest in November of this year. They just announced. So I'm really excited about that one, but I don't think it's going to be widespread. I don't think you're going to see a bunch of breweries all of a sudden jump on the Belgian bandwagon. Everybody's going to be brewing Belgians and Saisons and everything. I think those are more one-off type of deals. I don't think anybody's going to be, hey, we're specializing in Belgian beer and it's what we do all day, every day. But I would like to see more of it.
It's kind of crazy with how much like food has become such a big deal at breweries that you don't see more of those places making Belgians.
Agree, because they pair so well with food.
Yeah.
It's funny. We've got a brewery here. It's maybe 5-6 miles from where I live, Olentangy River. They do a hibiscus.
I love that beer.
The Belgian Tripel that they have.
Yep.
And so I'm not a fan of Belgians. Like I said, I don't like the funk. So if it's a double or triple, then I'm more okay with it. The Belgian that they do is amazing. For their anniversary beer last year, they took the hibiscus barrel-aged Belgian and aged it in gin barrels. And I'm also not a fan of gin. Holy crap, that beer is amazing. Gin barrel-aged hibiscus Belgian triple.
That sounds great.
It's so good. And so if you come to Columbus Gnome, I have a couple of cans left in my beer fridge. So you have to come up here to take advantage of it.
So we've hit Olentangy a couple of times, I believe. It's a underrated spot.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to say they brewed the best here, but I think they're consistently good. I'm a friend of not only the ownership but also the brewer who's out of Puerto Rico, and he had a brewery in Puerto Rico before he moved here, and so he's doing
Enrique
a lot
Iglesias.
of stuff.
Is that right?
I'm sorry,
Enrique Iglesias.
Enrique Iglesias.
Enrique Iglesias.
It's like the only brewer in Columbus that I can still remember his name.
That's right.
And he is the most amazing guy. Well, and so the funny thing is they do brew a beer, a red that's called Hero by Enrique Iglesias.
Hero by Enrique.
You got if that's your name, you got to use that name, and he does it very, very well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of Dayton. Dayton is such a weird child. I love Dayton to death, but there's a lot of different breweries. I mean, the two that just opened up in particular with Gravel Road, and the one up in New Eden, the guy came from Yellow Springs Brewery. He's doing nothing but lagers, and if you guys get up to New Eden, you guys got to go check him out because he's making very, very good lagers, and Gravel Road's absolutely killing it. But a lot of beer, one beer I think about a lot in Dayton is there's a lot of breweries that do still make black IPAs up here, from Aromatic to Full Circle, Heavy Near. I think Loose Ends had a black IPA. He's very big in the Belgiums. If you go to Loose Ends, he has 3 or 4 Belgian beers on all times. Toxic's always had a Belgian, but Toxic is Toxic. But it's a great beer bar to go to. But I think Dayton's just such a lot of breweries in Dayton just are just all over the place. I don't think there's a certain style that defines Dayton outside of like Boat Show, Gamma Bomb. Those 2 IPAs, if you go in Dayton, you normally see that everywhere. Especially like Boat Show, that's like become like the flagship IPA of Dayton. But
interesting perspective.
Yeah. So
they've actually opened up a spot here in Columbus too.
Yellow Springs.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That taproom actually has TVs. They actually told me that. So because the one in Yellow Springs does not.
Yep.
So.
And a decent kitchen.
Which the one in Yellow Springs does not have a kitchen. They rely on food trucks. Well, their space is so small. I mean, it's not small, but there's no room to add a kitchen if they wanted to.
Right.
So, but they rely heavily on food trucks. So, you think as a brewery you can still do that?
You can. I don't know that I would want to, but you can.
I remember back in the day being very excited about the breweries that, like, from the food offering, that was their thing. They had food trucks, so you could have the variety of different people come in. I don't know that model works consistently anymore. I think you either need to have the same food truck or your own kitchen. But I know I liked having the variety that would show up. I thought that was really cool. So maybe I don't want the whatever this time, but I want the Italian the next time, or the burgers, the sliders the next day. I like that myself, but I don't know that it's a model that is consistently successful anymore.
That consistency is the key word there. Like it works very well for some places. It doesn't work so well for other places. And I think it's having established relationships helps a lot. Birdfish Brewing in Columbiana is a great example of one that's open 7 days a week, and they do a different food truck every day, all 7 days. And their food trucks have the relationships; those people actually show up. I think the biggest struggle for a lot of breweries that are, mostly driven by food trucks not having their own kitchen is just getting them to show up half the time. Like there's so many cancellations, and they're so unreliable, and so many have walked away from doing food trucks altogether because they just can't count on them anymore. So they've swallowed it and decided, hell, we're going to open our own kitchen because we just can't rely on anybody to show up anymore. It's worked for Birdfish. It doesn't work for everybody else.
Yeah.
There's some breweries here that have managed to figure out how to make those food trucks work. And there's something fun about like when you show up to a brewery and the food truck is there and it's like, I wasn't going to eat, but man, that sounds really good. That's something that I haven't had in a long time, or that sounds really fun. Now I have to eat, even though I wasn't going to. But on the flip side, if I've got my kids with me or something and I show up to a brewery and there's a food truck and it's like, it's not something that my kids are going to eat. Now it's like, all right, now I've got a window that I can be here before we have to go somewhere else because my kids are going to want to eat something and they're not going to eat Mediterranean tacos and, you know, like they're, you know, whatever the strange thing that you just came up with, they're not going to eat that. And so like, then you got to go somewhere else.
Yeah. My buddy actually, he runs a brewery in Winchester, Kentucky, and they actually had a food truck that was pretty much there every single day. And they just got to the point where, like, you know, if something, let's say it breaks or it's cold outside, like people aren't going to go there. So he just said, you know what, I'm going to build a kitchen for you guys. And he just rents, it's literally the food truck just moved everything inside. And now they are just a separate company inside the building. But it gives that consistency. So he didn't make a kitchen, but he built a kitchen for someone to use, and that's another way. And you know, there's breweries that have done that in the past. He's just seen
we've got
that
a lot
it made
of
more
those.
sense. Yeah.
I would say the majority of the. I'd have to look at that to make that statement, but I feel like the majority of our food options are partnerships like that.
Yeah.
It's funny. We have a
most of
few
them-
breweries here that have like relationships with a specific food truck. So the same food truck is at the same brewery almost every day. And occasionally they'll have a different one shows up, but for the most part, it's the same one. But then we have others like, I don't know if you're familiar with Henmick Farm here, which is north of Columbus. Beautiful facility, great beer. And they've got 2 to 3 different food trucks that are there at any specific time. And the variety changes. But I think the key is there's nothing else in the area. There's no other restaurants. There's no other. So when you're there, if you want food, that is where you're going to go. So it's a very narrow set of options for you.
Yep.
And I think in those situations, it absolutely works.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then one last thing I want to touch on is I've noticed, like, you know, in Cincinnati you have Skyline Tap Room now, or bar. Then you also have the La Rosa's Tap Room, getting probably close to opening if they haven't already.
It's already open, yeah.
Okay.
Where are these magical places?
So the Skyline Bar is on Fountain Square, the former March 1st spot there.
Okay.
So they don't have just one brewery there. It's just a bar, well, I shouldn't even call it a bar. It's just beer and wine. They have not started doing any kind of cocktail program, which I think is a big mistake. I would love to have some kind of like Skyline old fashioned something or other. That I think there's a huge opportunity there. But the La Rosa's tap room is way more interesting. A guy that was operating La Rosa's bought the building that Big Ash is in over in Anderson, and did not kick the brewery out, is letting them stay there. So it's the La Rosa's taproom model. They have the brewery in the back that makes their beer, and it's a big self-serve tap wall,
Right.
and then full service La Rosa's kind of alongside all of that. It's a really, really interesting kind of concept.
So I'm seeing new places I need to add to my list of stopping into when I'm in Cincinnati. Because I love both of those food options.
Well, and the Skyline is cool because it's a much bigger kitchen than anywhere else. Like they have like pizzas and breakfast all the time, kind of like the airport, the Skyline there. Lots of fun like menu items that you can't get at other Skylines.
That's very cool to know about. Because the last time I was at the Fountain Square location is when it was March 1st during the whole Vets and Brews tour a few years ago.
Yeah, they did a good job kind of renovating the space and kind of turning it into a really cool Skyline.
Cool.
Well, I was thinking, like, with the La Rosa's way of doing things, is that something you think other places could say, hey, we don't want to have a brewery, but hey, if we see a brewery struggling, hey, we could come in, do your food, and you can keep brewing. Is that a model that you could see that could sustain?
Yeah, maybe, except for I don't know that they would take a spot that they see the brewery struggling. I don't know that that's the smart place to go into, but I mean, I could definitely see, like, we're seeing it a little bit with the collaboration between Braxton and Dewey's and Graders. Like they are now opening spots kind of next to each other and kind of this little little compounds which is just fantastic for families. Like I could see somebody kind of getting on board with something like that and teaming up with a brewery and being like, hey, like we're getting ready to open a new flagship spot and this neighborhood or this city or whatever it is. Like we want you guys to be the beer partner there. We want you to be on board for that. And you guys run that side of it. We run this side, and we'll make that work. I think that will be fun.
So, all right. Does anyone else have anything to say? Or,
No notes.
No notes. Well, I appreciate you guys' time tonight, and I always enjoy having you all on together. It's always a fun time, and hope to do this again in the future.
Yeah, always
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, Blake.
Cheers.
And reach out if you're coming to Columbus. Let me know. Love to go out and hang out with everybody.
Yeah, I need to go to Columbus. I need to go to Toledo, and I need to go to Cleveland. I'm always in Cincinnati. No, I always hit you up for that. But,
That's all right.
all right. So,
We're hitting the road this weekend and headed up to Salina.
nice.
Big city.
Yeah, hit up the bustling beer scene there.
Maria Stein.
Yeah. Lake Rat, I think, is still technically making beer. I think.
Technically. Allegedly.
All right. Cheers, guys.
You let me know.
Cheers.